So I'm particularly interested in looking at fuel treatment efficacy across different forest types. So in the dry forests, in the subboreal and the boreal, and looking at sort of mechanical treatments, hand treatments, and prescribed burns. And there are different, differences and different interpretations of each of those treatments, but those are sort of the broad categories that I'm looking at, and wanting to really ask, are the treatments that we're currently putting on the ground doing what we hope that they're doing? Are they helping make our landscapes more resilient to disturbances, and particularly fire, as well as restoring our ecosystems back to a structure that's more representative of what was historically there pre-fire suppression era. I haven't come across any agencies or groups that are sort of moving forward at the speed that SIFCo is, which is really exciting. And I think in general, at large, I think the whole British Columbia Community Forest Association is a great space for allowing, and has really become a leader in collaborative stewardship, and especially a lot of managers are really starting to be interested in proactive wildfire management, which is really exciting, and community forests sort of offer a space for that really collaborative between citizens and scientists and forest managers, as well as some government agencies coming in. And that collaborative stewardship, I think, really allows for creative, innovative solutions to solving our wildfire crisis, which is part of why I'm so excited to specifically work in this space, and part of why I wanted to work in the Tree Ring Lab with Lori Daniels, was because of this project with the community forest, because it's such a unique space to be able to work in, where we wouldn't be able to get this data of these types of treatments being done almost anywhere else. So it's really exciting, and again, it's extremely exciting that SIFCo is so willing to do burns, because I think a lot of, it is challenging. There's a public opinion dynamic that goes into it, and sort of a long-standing culture of fear in the West around fire as being posed as an adversary. And so there's a lot of kind of like slow movement and work with that on the public, as well as, public health concerns with the smoke impacts and such. So, and taking on liability is really challenging and scary for managers. So it just doesn't happen very often that you see forests that are kind of willing to take on that. But I think prescribed burns, reintroducing that key ecosystem process back onto the landscape is just one of the best things that we can do for our forests. We needed to move yesterday. We needed to do these treatments, and it is hard, especially when you're it's such an uphill battle of, we have these 100 years of fire suppression where we, universally applied fire suppression tactics across all forest types. And now, we really need to kind of come home again to place-based and traditional knowledge systems, and really be thinking about our ecosystems in those ways, versus sort of universally applying these suppression tactics. But it is really challenging, and especially, there are, fundamental links between climate and fire. And so as we see the climate changing, we're going to see increases in fire severity, and these really, really intense wildfire seasons that impact, not only the forest ecology and health, but also the communities, and are very scary for communities. I actually, in California, I'm from an area right next to Paradise, which was the deadliest wildfire recorded in California's history, that burnt the whole town down. And now we're seeing things like that happen in British Columbia as well. In 2017 and 2018, BC experienced record-breaking wildfire seasons that really impacted a lot of people. And this season we're also seeing really, it's looking like a really bad fire year. And I do think that even though that is really scary, it also is really waking people up to that fire is a key ecosystem process that we have to address and we have to think about. And I think it is motivating people to start really thinking about active and proactive wildfire management, and getting not only forest managers on board for that, but also citizens and everyday people who are experiencing it in their everyday lives. And that's really kind of like, I think, bringing it to the forefront for the public. And I do think we really need to start managing our forests as multi-value systems. But we've been told that we have to do clear cutting for it to be economically feasible to operate forests in forestry settings. But we've shown time and time again that you can do economically sound and sustainable forestry that's responsible through single tree selection, small group selections. Like, there are really creative ways to do multi-value management, and we've chosen not to do that and manage for sort of the single value of making a profit off of our forests. But there are amazing ways that we can do multi-value forestry. Yeah, how do we get there? I don't know, but it does take sort of an overhaul of our system and that larger kind of restructuring versus, yeah, it's something that does take kind of a hard look at our entire way that we do things. And that's part of when, with environmental economics, and econ was a focus of mine, of sort of, we like to boil things down into sort of really simple understandings of how we think about costs and profits. But really, when we think about it, we're gaining so much if we're managing for a forest that also results in healthy water systems, that also protects communities from high severity wildfires, that also produces quality wildlife habitat that helps protect species. Like, all of those things have immense value, and it's only kind of when we lose them, when we have poor quality water, that we realize what we were gaining from those systems being healthy. And so I think it's hard to sort of get these larger industries to start thinking in those more nuanced ways of how are we really thinking about costs and benefits of forestry. But we have to start being able to think in those more complex ways about the costs and benefits of our actions. I definitely think that SIFCo's model could be scaled up. I think that SIFCo's way of managing does take into account all of those different value systems that we've been talking about, and has really brought in the local community and gotten everybody on board, which is a super amazing and impressive thing to do. But I really do think that this could be brought outside of this sort of SLOCAN win-law area, and should be. We need to be applying the principles that SIFCo is actively using in their management on a large scale in all of our forests. And I think that that's one of the big things, is that we have to get off of the train of sort of thinking along the lines of what traditional forestry has told us in terms of that cost-benefit analysis. And we have to start looking at the really real examples that places like SIFCo are providing, that you can have an economically sound and environmentally responsible forest management system.